Sounds good, Mike. Let's set that up.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Albany Common Council Finance Committee meeting. Present, we have committee members Alfredo Ballerin, Judy Deshay, Mike O'Brien. We also have Council Member Richard Conti. We are joined by staff, John Rafael Pichardo, Michelle Andre, Danielle Gillespie, and we also have a special guest, Michael Berkby. We are discussing this evening resolution number 456120, and which is authorizing a pilot for agreement between the City of Albany and 25 Delaware Housing Development Fund. So Richard, since this is your legislation, would you like to start it off a bit?
Sure, and then we'll turn it over to Mike to present the actual proposal. So this is a project at 25 Delaware Avenue, which I think people are familiar with. It's the old senior services site, which has been owned by the Albany Community Development Agency. It's being purchased by Conifer Realty, which is who Mike is representing. And there's a proposal for a housing development at that site. I forget the number of units. I think it's around 50 or so. That will be affordable housing, similar to what we have in Robinson Square. Robinson Square, for example, the pastures are two other areas where, and Executive House are all examples. The project does maintain the historic building that's on site and incorporates it into the apartment building that's being proposed. What my resolution does would authorize the city to enter into a pilot agreement, which is based on the same pilot agreements we've entered into with other affordable housing companies like this, which, for example, Robinson Square and the Pastures. I know that Conifer is also submitting a grant application for some capital support to this, and someone has a dog. And the hope is that they can include the pilot agreement with the application to improve their ability. It's a very competitive process. So that's where it is. The project itself, there are some renderings that you'll see. The case files are also available on the planning board's, the planning department's website, but they have been through to the Historic Resources Commission a couple of times. Their last presentation I would characterize as very favorable. And I believe they're going to be back on Wednesday for further review, but that process is moving forward in a very positive direction. Remember, HRC is only looking at the exterior and not the actual, the other elements of the project. So that's basically what the resolution does. It'll authorize the pilot agreement, similar to what we've done with other corporations for affordable housing. And unless there are questions, maybe you want to turn it over to Mike to kind of review the project and answer any additional questions. And I know I saw Brett was here also, correct?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, that's not here.
Okay, well, that's kind of an overview.
I've got one question. Since that used to be a senior services building, the old historic part of it, I'm wondering if the new developer might also, we don't have too many senior services sites in Albany. I know we have them at Westview and I believe over at the old Philip Livingston, but it would be nice if they could maybe host a senior citizen program. And I know Joyce and I were working with Colony Senior Services maybe to help sponsor some, and also with Life Path of Albany.
I mean, you can ask Mike. The project does incorporate a community room, which I think also, you know, it's right near the Hudson Park and the Park South neighborhood.
Right.
It would be available for use to neighborhood associations possibly. Beyond that, I'm not sure, but there are other, facilities, but basically some of the amenities in there are targeted towards the tenants, but I know there is a community room in there as well. But maybe you want to, I don't know if there are any other questions or you
Well,
want.
I'll ask that question of the developer when he, or, yeah, okay.
So, I can get started if everyone's ready. I will try to share my screen so that I can drive the presentation that we provided. Let's see if this works. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So I will start off our presentation with a little bit of background about Conifer, who we are, where we do business, and then dive into details on the project. So Conifer is a full-service real estate development company that was founded in 1975. We'd like to say that we create a home for possibilities for all of our residents. As a full-service real estate company, everything we develop, we build, everything we build, we manage, and everything we manage, we own. So every property that Conifer develops is viewed as a long-term asset that is held on to by Conifer in the long run. So it's very important to us to develop good relationships in all of the municipalities that we work, and to create a high quality product that becomes a place of choice to live wherever we are. This is a map that shows our footprint. We have, as you can see, we have over 225 properties throughout New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, and over 15,000 units that are currently owned and managed by Conifer. In New York, you can see we are all over the state. We have quite a few in the Hudson Valley and the Capital Region, and are looking to fill in that kind of hole in the middle of the state where we are right now. So this is an aerial view of 25 Delaware that has included our future building on the site. It's located between the Hackett Middle School and the Boys and Girls Club. And this is a rendering that shows our proposed building. You can see the old fire signal building in the foreground with a 4-story building behind it, with the main entrance to the apartments on the right there below that orange section of the facade. There are a couple of additional views. We've got a zoom in on the main entrance. We've got another view from the other intersection on Delaware Ave, and then another view that looks down the back of the property. I did say it was 4 stories. It is 4 stories over a single-story parking garage that doesn't quite take up the full footprint of the building, and it's partially submerged. There are some significant slopes with the property as you move to the back corner. This floor plan, while it might be a little hard to see, this shows the first floor of both the apartment building and the fire signal building. Below this floor is where the parking garage is. Over on the right-hand corner of the apartment building is where the main entrance is. It's also where the management and leasing office are. The first floor of the fire signal building includes bike storage, as well as that community hall that Richard referenced. That is something that we would make available to local groups. Specifically, we had conversations with the neighborhood association about having a place where they could hold their meetings if they wanted them there. Moving up to the second floor, this is a fairly typical floor plan of what all of the remaining floors of the apartment building look like. As you can see, it's a predominantly 1-bedroom units with a couple of 2 bedrooms tend to be on the ends of the building, as well as laundry on each floor. In the second floor of the fire signal building is where we have a kind of a resident community lounge, as well as a fitness room. This is just a brief summary of what the property will have. There will be a total of 51 units, 41 bedrooms, and 11 two-bedrooms. Our income targets for this property will be between 40 and 90% of area median income. You can see our anticipated rents there, and then just listing through some of the amenities that we will provide for our residents in this location. Finally, this is just a quick summary of what our request is. So we're requesting a annual pilots payments that would be 10% of shelter rents. That's rental income less any landlord paid utilities. The pilot is important for a number of reasons. One, this is a challenging site. Behind the fire signal building, the soils there are pretty much poor fill, so we will have to use a pile foundation, which makes the project expensive, as well as the parking garage also makes it an expensive project. But we feel that the underground parking is needed to support the residents. The pilot also allows us to hit some of the lower income targets, particularly the 40% and 50% of area median incomes. And as Richard mentioned in his initial remarks, getting a pilot from the municipality definitely makes us a more competitive application as we go in for funding from the state. So the pilot is definitely something that will help move this project along and find a productive use for this site, which I know has been a priority of the neighborhood for a while, ever since the senior center closed. So with that, I think that is just a quick snapshot of our project. To give you some sense of what our timing is, we are anticipating that the state will release their RFP for the next round of funding in the next week or two, and we hope that that RFP allows us to submit an application to the state sometime in the next 2 months, and then we would begin, if awarded funding, we would begin construction sometime in the first quarter of next year.
Mike, can you discuss a little bit about the state application and what program that is and what kind of support they would provide?
Sure. So HCR has now it's a biannual funding application for for their resources. This is through the New York State Homes and Community Renewal. The primary resource that we would be applying for is low-income housing tax credits, both federal and state tax credits, as well as we would pursue some of the soft money that the state has available, most likely the Housing Trust Fund. These are very competitive applications. Typically, the HCR receives anywhere between 70 and 80 applications a funding cycle, and then we'll fund maybe 15 or 20 of those per year or per funding cycle. So the more we can do to increase the competitiveness of our application just goes to increase the likelihood that this project will happen.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, actually, it's 2 questions. How many car parkings are available with your underground parking, which I guess is your only parking, right?
There are 30 spots in the underground garage, as well. There is street parking on every street except Delaware Avenue.
Okay. And what's the acreage of the entire site?
That is a good question. I don't have that off the top of my head, but I can get back to you and let you know.
Okay. And then my other question was, since it used to be a senior citizen center, and I guess that's one of the groups that might be able to use your community space.
Yeah, I think that we have to work out the details of how to how groups would contact management and reserve the space. We're not anticipating there would be any fee for using the space, but we would certainly be open to any local group who wanted to use it.
Yeah. Now you'll have an on-site manager?
Correct. There'll be an on-site manager and on-site maintenance person.
Oh, and like, what's the closest other one you operate in case you want to take a look at it?
We just fairly recently opened up a development in Ballston Spa.
Oh, okay. And that's called Conifer?
That one is, I'm sorry, the name escapes me for the moment. If you give me a...
Yeah, I think if you go to their website, you'll be able
Okay.
to see all of their locations also.
Okay. But the website is listed as Conifer Company. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, our website is coniferllc.com.
Okay.
And I just want to note for the record that Councilmember Anane is also here. Judy, it looks like you have your hand up for a question.
Yes, Richard can probably answer this. Richard, the parking around that location is subject to residential parking permits?
Correct. And so the tenants there, they would have there's garage capacity with the project, but they would also be eligible if they choose to purchase permits.
Okay, and Mike, what is the application process review criteria? Is there any specific criteria other than income? And
For residents?
yes.
We have a pretty extensive application process, but as far as baseline criteria of who's eligible to live in one of our communities, this would just be a family, considered a family property. So as long as they meet the income requirements, they would be eligible.
And what percentage of your properties across New York State and then generally are for low income individuals?
I would have to say, I don't have the exact number, but I would probably be somewhere in the realm of 90% of our properties are affordable. That's our affordable housing is our key business. We do own a handful of market rate communities, but that's a little bit out of our normal wheelhouse.
And if you don't get funding from the state, what happens then?
Then that's the prime mechanism for development of affordable housing. That's so if we don't get funding this round, we can always reapply. But again, that's the real critical component to moving forward is getting funding from the state.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Ballerin, you have some questions?
Thank you. What is the income requirements?
It's all based on the area median income, and in Albany, the Albany MSA, that is around $86,000 a year for a family of four. So so it would be based on a percentage of that, and then it gets adjusted again based on household size. So that looks like. So for on the low end for a one bedroom, that is in the range of $25,000, and then on the going up to a high end for a 2-bedroom 90% unit would be around $60,000.
What about on the high end for 1 bedroom?
That would be about $49,000.
Because I see you got mostly 1 bedroom, so really this isn't geared for large families. It's geared for, families of, single, two, or dual to maybe, 1 or 2 kids maximum.
Correct.
And so the rents are based on individuals' income? Is it 1/3 of their income, or how does that work?
The rents are set by the tax credit program, which generally sets rents at about 30% of someone's monthly income. There may be specific market conditions where we would pull back a little bit from the max rent we're allowed to charge, but I think here we're pretty comfortable that the tax credit rents as determined by the program are what we will likely charge.
And is this a mixed income project or is it 100% affordable housing?
I guess it depends on how you define mixed income. We do have are projecting a range of incomes from 40 to 90% of area median income. So to the extent that it's not just one income band, it's mixed, but we don't have any market rate or higher income bands anticipated.
And what was the reaction of the neighborhood association when you met with them?
We met with them. That was almost a year and a half or 2 years ago. It was pretty positive. They were definitely interested in seeing something happen with this site, and they were happy that we were targeting some of the lower income bands, because from what I understand, some of the other housing development that has happened recently has missed those incomes.
Yeah, I would say it has received positive feedback and support.
That's good to hear. Okay, thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
Yeah, Jenny. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for making a decision to invest in the city of Albany. You know, one of the things that as a new council member I hear very too often is when it comes to construction, job opportunities, there's always a lack of diversity within the people that live in those communities. My question is, do you have your own construction firm that are going to be taking over this project?
We have a partnership with LaChase Construction, Conifer LaChase Construction. They are a GC. They don't actually do any of the building themselves, so they most frequently put out to bid to local contractors, and definitely make a effort to get local contractors involved and to employ people in the communities where we are. Yeah,
as it relates to like diversity specifically, is there any target numbers as it relates to like African Americans or even like Hispanics working on some of these construction sites? Yeah, the HCR does have minority and with women-owned business requirements that we will be required to meet. Those will get determined. What the specific dollar value of those goals will be determined after we get funding, and it's based on the amount of funding that the state is providing. Gotcha. Yeah, I just want to give you some just some information right there where the project is slated. If you walk down the street, there's individuals in those communities who are struggling, particularly right now in COVID times, that will love to have some type of construction job. So I hope that, you know, you communicate that to, you know, your leadership, communicate it with the investors. We would like to see people that live in the community on these job sites. And I drive past all the time. Many of my council colleagues also drive around some of these sites during the early stages and also to the end. So we will be watching, and I hope that you would make a concentrated effort to make sure that you get some people that live in the community on these job sites, particularly our brown and black members of our community. I will definitely take that back. Thank you.
Excellent. Do we have any other questions? Councilmember Hoey has joined us as well. If there are no other questions, can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with a positive recommendation.
Could I get a second?
Or move it forward with a positive recommendation.
Thank you, Judy. Could I get a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Mike. All in favor of moving this resolution forward with a positive recommendation?
Aye.
Aye. That appears unanimous for our committee members.
Minus Councilman Robertson, this is unanimous.
Excellent. So that goes through the positive recommendation, and we'll be voting on it later.
Great. I want to thank everybody. Mike, thanks for dropping in, so to speak. And I know you're at HRC on Wednesday, correct?
Correct.
And that's for final review, or is that just more concept review?
It's another concept. We just wanted to get another chance before we put in our final submission to get any feedback we have from the committee.
Okay. So if
And
folks
can you
want to
just send
check
us the acreage on
Yeah.
that?
Yep.
Okay.
We'll do.
Richard,
Yes.
I'm wondering if we want to provide a letter of support as well to the application.
Yeah,
Good
we
to see you,
can do
Pat.
that, I'm sure Mike would welcome that. And as soon as they know when the application is, process opens up, let me know, and I can get a letter of some kind of support.
Yeah, that would definitely be helpful.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much. We really
thank you.
appreciate it.
And we'll be
See,
passing this tonight then.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you.
we'll see everyone
Motion to
very
adjourn.
soon. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
And a second?
Second.
Well,
All in favor?
Bye.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you in half an hour.
That was my reminder that I have a common council meeting in a half hour.